We have been having to remind each other and ourselves not to be assholes since we started writing shit on papyrus.
The Spiritual Shitshow podcast with Suzanne Sole, episode number 20.
Hello, you gorgeous beings, and welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow podcast, where we get into the shit show the healing and spiritual awakening journey can be. I'm your host, Suzanne Sole, comedian, lifelong spiritual student, and I'm sharing some of the sweet treats I've learned along my journey that have helped me and that I hope help you too. The golden rule, not to be confused with the golden shower. Now you might be like, ew. Okay, but seriously, what is the golden rule? The golden rule is the famously famous saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Humanity's most universally agreed upon yet comically underutilized piece of advice. It encourages us to consider the feelings, needs, and well-being of others, empathize with them and their experiences, and treat them with the same dignity and compassion we would want for ourselves. The Golden Rule is a spiritual life hack and foolproof guide to karma-proofing your existence. And yet, if human history is any indication, we have collectively spent thousands of years hearing this rule, nodding in solemn agreement, and then proceeding to treat each other like trash more often than seems necessary. I mean, for realsies, we could all probably use a reminder about the value and ethics of the Golden Rule. Because, it's super easy to fall into the trap, consciously or unconsciously, of hearing, treat others how you want to be treated, and somehow interpreting that as, everyone should bend over backwards to meet my standards, while I do whatever the fuck I want. And listen, I'm not off the hook here either. I have had plenty of moments where I could have followed the Golden Rule, but girl, I didn't. And also times where I expected people to meet my standards of doing unto me, but wasn't meeting those standards unto others. So we're all learning something here today. Historically, the Golden Rule has had many interpretations, whether through a spiritual lens, a philosophical perspective, or just your favorite aunt reminding you, remember the Golden Rule. Metaphysically, it suggests we're all connected, that treating others well isn't just an ethical choice, but a recognition that what I do to you, I do to me. Ouch, that's smarts. Some traditions take it even further and argue that how you treat others literally shapes your reality. Hinduism and Buddhism introduced the idea of karma, where failing to follow the Golden Rule doesn't just make you not golden. It says that life may kick your ass at a later date, possibly in the form of a pigeon pooping on your head right before a job interview. On a more practical level, it was probably early humanity's first attempt at conflict resolution. Before legal systems and HR departments. In a world before the Popo and Yelp reviews, having a universal agreement to just not be an insufferable asshole was crucial for survival. Otherwise, entire villages would have collapsed under the weight of endless petty revenge cycles. You see, human beings are wired for both survival and cooperation. But the balance between be a decent person and look out for number one has been shifting and mutating ever since we climbed down from the trees. At our core, we are living, breathing animals, and for most of our history, surviving was like playing an extremely high-stakes game of musical chairs, except instead of getting left without a seat, you were left with nothing to eat. Or you were eaten. Let's just say food was scarce and saber-toothed tigers were not. So if you gave away too much, you might not have enough for yourself. Altruism was great if it came with a return on investment. Strengthening your tribe, ensuring others would help you later, or making sure your group was too large to be wiped out by a saber-toothed tiger on a bad day. But this just in. Darwin's idea of survival of the fittest wasn't about being the biggest, baddest caveman. It was more about being adaptable and being able to decide what was the best thing to do in each situation. As we've evolved through the times, survival has become less about fighting off predators in the wild and more about fighting for power, wealth, and social status. Society started feeding us the idea that life was a competition, that there was only so much success to go around, and that if we didn't grab our share, someone else would take it. The entire structure of feudalism and capitalism reinforced the idea of move up or be left behind. And in those structures, kindness has been viewed as weakness. If you weren't watching your back, someone else was going to step over you on their way to the top. And now here we are, trapped between two opposing instincts. On one side, there's the little voice in our head that says, get what's yours, protect your resources, don't be a sucker. And on the other side, our spiritual and heart-centered nature, which understands that in today's world, cooperation actually benefits us more in the long run. The golden rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you is often credited to Jesus in the New Testament. But like most of history's greatest hits, it had a lot of remixes before it made it big. The ancient Greeks talked about it, the Buddha rapped about it, Confucius had a version, even the ancient Egyptians were like, dude, don't be a dick. So, we have been having to remind each other and ourselves not to be assholes since we started writing shit on papyrus. Possibly the earliest known written version of the Golden Rule appears in ancient Egypt in the story The Tale of the Eloquent Peasant, which dates back to around 2040 BC. I know, that is really fucking old. The story tells of a peasant who is wronged by a wealthy landowner, but instead of seeking revenge, chooses to treat the landowner with kindness and respect. This act of compassion inspires the landowner to make an amends and treat the peasant fairly. The text concluding, that which you hate to be done to you, do not do to another. I mean, it only makes sense. In 600 BC, the Buddha said, hurt not others with that which pains yourself. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? At the same time the Buddha was kicking suffering's ass, the Golden Rule was also a common principle in ancient Greek philosophy. Philosopher Thales said, avoid doing what you would blame others for doing. Again, reasonable. Chinese philosopher Confucius had a version of it around 500 BC saying, what you do not wish for yourself, do not do to others, which feels like the polite philosophical ancestor of, come on, dude. And dated in 400 BC in the Hindu Sanskrit tradition, the Mahabharata, an ancient text which contains the Bhagavad Gita, says, one should never do something to others that one would regard as an injury to one's own self. In brief, this is Dharma. Anything else is succumbing to desire. In the African tradition, there is a Swahili proverb that says, what is bad for you is not good for your neighbor. And Black Elk, a holy man of the Native American Lakota tribe, said, all things are our relatives. What we do to everything, we do to ourselves, which totes takes it to a whole nother level. Whoa. In the Jewish Talmud, Hillel the elder was challenged by a man who asked that the Torah be explained to him while he stood on one foot. Hillel accepted the challenge and said, what is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. This is the whole Torah. The rest is explanation. Go and learn. So what I'm hearing you say, Hillel, is that probably the hardest spiritual practice to practice is literally the main ingredient in every spiritual teaching and philosophy there is. So living by the Golden Rule seems to be the deepest way of living one's faith in real time. Basically, it's walking the walk. And in all honesty, in some more challenging situations in our lives, walking the walk can feel like walking in stilettos across the lawn. Now, Islam takes the Golden Rule and makes it extra. There is a teaching in the Hadith which says, none of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. I mean, Total mic drop. So, what the Hadith is saying is that you don't really have faith until and unless you start wishing that others also receive all the good things that you want for yourself. You know, in today's world, that seems like a cakewalk, right? Okay, I'll admit it. I have a hard time wishing for others what I wish for myself sometimes. I can get caught up in the fear that if I see other people getting what I have been wanting for myself, that it somehow means that it won't happen for me. Like there's only so much good to go around. And then I start feeling so bad, I'm not able to be fully happy for the other person. So why do we sometimes fear wishing for someone else to get what we want? And how do I think it ties into the golden rule? Oh, thanks for asking. When we are challenged to be happy for others' good fortune, or to wish that other people get what we want for ourselves, one, it's because we are seeing the world from a lack and scarcity mindset. But also, it's because, drum roll please, we are projecting. Our discomfort with someone else getting what we want comes from a deep-seated belief that we are not worthy of the things that we desire. So the other person's success or good fortune acts as a mirror, reflecting back to us all the ways we believe we have fallen short, how we're not good enough, not talented enough, not lucky enough, and on and on and on. So instead of being happy for the other person like we would want them to be for us, aka the golden rule, our subconscious hijacks the moment and turns it into proof that we are lacking and unworthy. And obviously, telling ourselves something like that feels like absolute shit. But in the moment, we think that shit feeling is coming from out there where the person with the good fortune is. But Sugar Muffin, the call is coming from inside the house. You know, it always seems like it goes back to the same thing. Working on our self-love, self-appreciation, and self-worth can help us connect more fully with others, open our hearts, and help us live more often by the golden rule. And on top of all that, it feels like poo because I'm also the one who's missing out on all that delicious dopamine that comes from being happy for other people. Anyway, back to you, Bob. Okay, I know the next question that's probably on everyone's mind at this point because it's a good question. Okay, how am I supposed to live by the golden rule when there are so many fucking scammers and fucked up people who want to hurt others in the world? I mean, I want a golden ticket on the express to the city of enlightenment, but girl, I don't want to, find myself in the middle of a train robbery while I'm doing it. Okay, so the golden rule is awesome until you realize the world is full of people who would absolutely take that kindness, slap a ski mask on it, and use it as an opportunity to rob you blind, or worse. It's a real kick in the teeth to want to be a good person in a world where helping might put you in a really fucked up and dangerous situation, the kind of shit that makes you question everything. But here's the thing. Practicing the golden rule doesn't mean walking around wearing a t-shirt that says, "Scam me, baby." It doesn't mean blind trust. And it doesn't mean ignoring that bad shit exists. It means showing up with wisdom and discernment. You can believe in kindness and still be cautious. You can want to help and still keep your doors locked. You can treat people with humanity and still be aware that some of them are out here playing by rules that do not include giving a single fuck about your well-being. One day, the Prophet Muhammad saw a man leaving his camel without tethering it and asked him why he was doing this. The man said he was placing his trust in Allah and had no need to tie the camel. The Prophet Muhammad replied, "Trust in Allah and tie your camel." I love that one because, it says it all. The golden rule isn't an invitation to be a sucker. It's a call to be the kind of person you wish the world had more of, while also not getting yourself fucked up in the process. So, how do we live by the golden rule in a world that sometimes feels like a scam palooza? By remembering that the golden rule is about who we are, not about what other people do, and knowing that we can still be good Samaritans without putting ourselves in danger by finding smarter ways to help. If safety is a concern, we can call for assistance rather than pull over when we see someone broken down on the side of the road. And donate to organizations that help vulnerable people rather than put ourselves in dangerous situations. Listen to your gut when it tells you something feels off. The goal is to move through life with both heart and intelligence, to be kind without being careless, to give without being gullible. The golden rule doesn't mean stepping into danger just to prove you believe in goodness. It means treating others with dignity while also making sure you live long enough to keep doing it. Okay, so now let's talk about karma. Let's talk about the golden rule and karma. You've been good. You've held doors open. You've let people merge on the highway. You've even pretended to like someone's very weird tasting casserole. And yet, where are your motherfucking rewards for all that goodness? Meanwhile, Becky from accounting, who treats customer service reps like trash and claims all her assistants' work as her own, just got promoted. It makes you want to scream. Where the fuck is karma? Karma will always karma when karma karmas. The golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And karma says, you're going to get back what you put out at some point. But also, other people's karma is not what we want to focus our precious attention on. But as an aside, do you know what's happening when we want to see other people suffer for their bad behavior? Okay, let me tell you. Our brains are throwing a good old-fashioned temper tantrum. Oh yeah, that's right. Because we feel wronged and or powerless and like the universe has failed to properly distribute cosmic justice. It's that primal knee-jerk reaction that kicks in when someone cuts us off in traffic, betrays us, or shit talks us behind our back. Deep down, we don't actually want to be the kind of people who root for someone else's downfall. But there's something intoxicating about the idea of karmic retribution doing our dirty work for us. And this reaction isn't entirely our fault. Humans evolved with a finely tuned fairness radar. Because back in the day, if someone in the tribe took more than their share and got away with it, it threatened the survival of the entire group. The feeling of righteous fury we get when we see injustice, like when Susan from The Office takes the last donut again, and yes, that was me, but my name is not Susan, is an ancient, hardwired response meant to keep society running smoothly. The problem is, in modern life, we rarely get the satisfaction of seeing instant justice. So our brains fill in the gaps with revenge fantasies. And let's be honest, some of those fantasies are chef's kiss satisfying. But while we may think that someone else's suffering will balance the scales, the truth is, it usually doesn't. When we're fixated on someone else getting what they deserve, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And it mostly just ruins our day. Meanwhile, they're out there blissfully unaware, living their best life and completely failing to be as miserable as we'd like them to be and are making ourselves. Now, I'm not saying don't have your feelings. Have your feelings. Or rip them a new one in your journal or to a safe person, or sometimes just telling yourself is helpful. But try to understand your feelings are valid, but may not validate taking actions you could regret later. If you need to say something to someone about something, try giving yourself a cooling off period. That's all I'm saying. Instead, we can do our absolute freaking best to move on and live our lives and grow and love and all that good shit, because the best revenge is to keep it moving, babe. Ain't always easy, but it's the best thing for us and will have a more positive effect on our lives than ruminating about that guy getting his. And in all honesty, I think many times people don't even know they hurt or offended or upset you, and it was totally unintentional. Buddhism says that karma is about shaping who we are. Every time we act with kindness, patience, or integrity, we're enforcing to ourselves that we are kind, patient, and a solid human being. And every time we act out of competition, defense, and protection, we are reinforcing the belief to ourselves that that is how we have to live. And guess which one lands you in a more peaceful, fulfilling existence? Spoiler alert, it's not the path of paranoia. I can tell you, as someone who has walked on the wild side of fear, competition, and protection, it ain't fun. I can tell you without reservation, your ego might put up a fight, but let the heart guide you. Your life will just feel better. Me and the Buddha aren't the only ones who agree with this. Our good friend Jesus was all about it too, you know. When he said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, he wasn't saying, be nice just because it's the right thing to do. He was saying, lead with love and kindness because the blueprint for how the universe operates. You send love out, love finds its way back. You send out greed, resentment, or cruelty, and let's just say, get ready to sit in your own shit at some point, whether that be psychologically, emotionally, or physically. Yuck. And in all honesty, I think that people who treat others like shit on the regular are wildly unhappy. Because happy people spread love. Hey, another reason to do unto others. The love and kindness we show to others affects us too. Spiritual teacher and author of The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, says that when we are fully present and connected to the deeper consciousness of the now, we naturally treat others with kindness and respect because we recognize that they are not separate from us. And the Untethered Soul author, Michael Singer, says that our struggles with following the golden rule come from deep-seated emotional wounds and attachments. When we take things personally, hold grudges, or feel threatened by others, we become reactive and defensive, making it harder to live by this principle. And when we let go of our resistance, stop identifying with our ego's need for control, and surrender to the flow of life, we naturally become more compassionate, making the golden rule effortless rather than a chore. And spiritual teacher and author Gabby Bernstein teaches that when we are kind and forgiving to ourselves, it becomes easier to extend that same treatment to others. She often frames the golden rule as a practice of energetic alignment. When we treat others as we wish to be treated, we are choosing love over fear, which leads to greater inner peace, better relationships, and even improved mental and physical health. Now, I want to take a quick moment to talk specifically to women, or anyone who has been made to believe they should put others first, even if it is to the detriment of their own well-being, because that is so not the golden rule. The golden rule doesn't say, drain yourself dry to keep everyone else hydrated, or treat others kindly while they walk all over you like a human doormat. And yet, through social conditioning, many women have been taught that following the golden rule means putting everyone else's needs before their own, even if it leaves them exhausted and questioning every life choice they've ever made. The Bhagavad Gita encourages serving with wisdom, not blind obligation. If your giving is leaving you drained, it's not generosity, it's self-abandonment. And karma don't give no prizes for that. Jesus didn't say, let people take advantage of you in the name of kindness. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. As yourself. The self part, did you hear that? And in African wisdom tradition, the Yoruba speaks of our divine inner compass, reminding us that honoring ourselves is essential because we cannot pour from an empty cup. The wisdom of the golden rule is discernment, knowing when to extend kindness and when to step the fuck back. knowing that treating others well doesn't mean letting them take advantage of you or shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. It's about treating others with kindness while extending the same grace and care to yourself. RESPECT. Find out what it means to me. At the end of the day, the Golden Rule recognizes that helping others isn't weakness. It builds inner strength and relationships. And compassion isn't submission. It develops personal and spiritual power. And in today's world, it can be a challenge because many times society praises kindness in theory, but rewards selfishness in practice. We say we want generosity and integrity, but billionaires hoard money while posting vague tweets about giving back. And reality TV thrives on the drama of backstabbing. We want to believe in kindness, but we also really don't want to get screwed over. So, how do we make peace with this cognitive dissonance when it comes to treating others the way we'd like to be treated? Here's a golden nugget about the Golden Rule that can help us see it in a different light. The Golden Rule isn't some moral obligation we're supposed to begrudgingly follow. It's actually a life hack that can benefit us in many ways that we may not even realize. Studies show that generosity leads to deeper relationships, greater happiness, and even more long-term success. The truth is, when we actually commit to living by this rule, it actively improves our lives. Let me count the ways. Okay, here are 3. Number 1, inner peace. Sounds cheesy, but being a decent human being actually frees up so much mental energy. Less drama, less resentment, fewer I should have said moments replaying at 2 a.m. Number 2, people are drawn to you because you have delicious, open-hearted energy. They totes want to be around you. They invite you to things. They don't dread your texts. They save you a seat. I mean, where's the party? And number 3, it disarms the jerky ones. Being kind to someone who expects hostility is like confusing an attack dog with a squeaky toy. Sometimes they just don't know what to do with it. And on a global scale, the Golden Rule is literally the key to everything. World peace, Golden Rule. Political civility, Golden Rule. Customer service that doesn't make you want to turn yourself into a tiny particle, crawl through the telephone into the cell phone waves, and give Peggy a piece of your mind, Golden Rule. A social media landscape that isn't a toxic hell realm, baby steps to the Golden Rule. By practicing the Golden Rule, we contribute to the creation of a more compassionate world, opening the door for us to transcend differences through forgiveness in moments of conflict. But let's keep it personal, because for real, no one can control whether other people live by the Golden Rule. That's the rub. We cannot force it upon others. We can only use it for ourselves, like a secret weapon. Because while it may not always be easy, practicing the Golden Rule can lead us to a life of greater meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. You know, maybe all those spiritual teachings about the Golden Rule aren't just giving us instructions on how to live with others. Maybe they were giving us a golden ticket to the express train to the city of enlightenment. All aboard! So go ahead, open the door for the next person. Let that car merge. Tip the barista like a human being. You're not just making the world a little less insufferable. You're making your own life exponentially better. And who knows, maybe if enough of us get on board, the world will be less of a shit show. Now hear me out on this. What if we made kindness, compassion, love, and generosity our highest goal? Seriously, what if we made living by the Golden Rule our highest achievement? Like, follow your dreams, go for your goals, show up for yourself, take care of yourself, all of that, of course. And also, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, as much as you can. And watch your life transform. All right, I'm going to do unto you as I would like you to do to me if you were doing a podcast, and that is to say, thank you so very much for listening. My name is Suzanne Sole. This has been the Spiritual Shitshow podcast. Darling, would you be a beloved, wonderful person and roll it?